Welcome everyone to the ESUMC Podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Kofi Ashley. And today we have a very special guest, Tricia Wingerter. Tricia is a successful businesswoman, dedicated mother, and an active member of our church community. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for asking me. And I'm very excited that I get to spend some time with you, learn a little bit more about you. And I'm so thankful that Manny has taken this upon. We've long been wanting a podcast. So thank you, Manny.
Yeah, you're making history. You're our first guest.
The first guest. I get a gold star.
Yes. Excited to have you, Tricia. Our theme for this podcast is serving at your church gives more than you believe. Your story is a perfect example of that. You run a business with over 150 employees. Still manage to find the time to serve your church in so many ways. How do you do that?
Because it's a priority. And if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't happen. And I must say, I've had the pleasure to belong to many United Methodist churches since we moved so many times, 24 times in 41 years. So a lot of church shopping for United Methodist churches, and I'm so thankful I settled here. But one thing I will tell you is I never shied away from volunteering, even as a kid. At a certain point, when you're going to Vacation Bible School, you want to be one of the helpers, not necessarily one of the kids. And my mother made sure I got there. I wanted to be just like those teachers. Like, they seemed so competent. They were so comfortable in the kitchen. They knew their Bible verses. And I thought, I want to be like that. And of course, because I'm so impatient, I thought it would happen 5 minutes later. I didn't realize it was going to take 41 years, to get to the point where I feel like a successful volunteer at the United Methodist Church.
Wow, that's awesome. We're so grateful for your service, Tricia. And I'm excited to dive deeper into your story today. But first, let me start with a fun question. Tell us about the first time you fell off your bicycle.
Well, I love that question because it's either sad or happy, but you're going to get an emotion out of it. And when I was born, my brother was 11, and I'm devoted to him. He was my favorite brother, a lot of fun, always wanted to get into trouble, and I was his compadre, for lack of a better word. So he said, hey, let's go run down to Ben Franklin. I'll get you a candy bar. Hop on the handlebars of the bike. And my brother was 6'2", and I was 6 years old, and he put me on the handlebars, and he was clipping, going fast. My hair is blowing, and I'm like, slow down, and I'm laughing. And guess what happened? My foot got stuck in the spoke, and we both fell over, and I got the wind knocked out of myself. And before I could catch my breath, he said, don't tell Mom. Don't tell her. She'll never let me take you on the bike again. So I just remember stuffing the crying and getting back on the bike, and we went and got my candy bar. When I got home, I never said a word to my mother. So he coerced me, but I don't care. We had a lot of fun. How about you?
Yeah, I never fell off the bike, but I was warned not to ride my bike because it was so risky riding bikes in Ghana,
Yeah.
where I come from. But that's another story.
Okay, sounds good.
So let's start by talking more about your journey to this particular church, East Stroudsburg Methodist Church, ESUMC. And how did you end up where you are today?
Well, when you go back so you can go forward and you look at all the places you've been and all of the information and all of the skills you've collected, there's such a great party of people in your life that, should be recognized. And I mentioned Vacation Bible School, but I can also say that when we were in college, my husband and I, the first thing we did was look for a United Methodist Church. And that was the first time that I was asked to speak at church. That was the first time I was asked to be on a survey committee to find out what people in my age bracket liked. And then as we moved, it would have been into Illinois, immediately I went back to my home church. And a lot of the skills I got, I was doing the same thing at my home church. But the big thing happened when I had kids, because I was going to the Nazarene church for mothers of preschoolers. And I thought, my goodness, there's 200 kids here and 100 adults every other week, just like Vacation Bible School, 9 months a year. We need to do this at our church. So I started one at my church. I learned how to hire babysitters for the kids. I learned how to hire teachers to train the kids and teach them Bible verses. I learned how to hire people to help in the kitchen. And think about it, when I say hire, they were doing it for free. So I was influencing them to also volunteer. And from that, I began cooking Wednesday nights when our church leadership needed to have meeting and they needed daycare. I would take care of that. So I became that woman that helped in our church when I was a kid going to Vacation Bible School by volunteering and meeting other people and learning some skills.
Wow. So how did that make you feel?
that I could do more. How's that? That there's more out there for me. And I think that by volunteering at my church, I think about it. We're not getting paid for this. Like, we're volunteers. So even if I can't get it done, that's okay. Someone will forgive me, right? But I learned that I got so much out of it. I learned all of these skills, and I even became part of the finance committee at one point in time at a different church in Des Moines, Iowa. And I learned how to read a P&L. I learned how to be fiscally responsible. I learned that this money is not mine, it's God's, and a lot of prayers involved in that about how to spend it and spend it wisely.
That's amazing. So when you make a commitment to serve, great things happen. Mm-hmm. So Tricia, as a businesswoman with over 150 employees, while you're managing all this for 13 years and also having other opportunities, give us a little history about yourself.
I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. When I look back, I've always been willing to try new things. I'm a quick start. I'm innovative. But I didn't realize all this volunteer work gave me the skills I needed for visiting angels. Guess what I do there? I hire people. I have to hire trusted people. I have to hire people that I have to look at myself in the mirror because they're going to go into somebody's home and it comes back on me. So I have to be pretty picky. How's that? And then fiscal responsibility. I mean, I'm accountable for payrolls. I have to be wise with our money. And I feel all of that volunteer work made me the person I am today. I owe everything I am to this United Methodist Church.
Wow. Well, so tell us one thing in particular you've learned in this church.
I've learned that there are so many volunteers in this church that perhaps don't get the recognition they deserve or the accolades, but they're behind the scenes. And I always cite Peggy Strack because when you're at your lowest point in life, she is the perfect person to be there for you. When you're having such a hard time, you're in prayer, you're seeking God, you're seeking answers, you're on your knees. And all the United Methodist churches I've belonged to always had the ability for you to go up at the end of the service and have someone pray over you. You could go into the chapel and you can unload a little bit and say what's going on and get comfort. And Peggy, if she wasn't a volunteer, I don't know where I'd be today. I was at a very, very rough patch with my health, and without Peggy putting anointed oil on me and telling me it's going to be okay. Maybe not what I wanted, but there's a plan. It gave me hope, and I thank her every day for it.
Wow, Peggy Strack, that's amazing. Well, we thank God for her life and how she has blessed your life as well.
I would agree.
Yeah. So what is the one thing you miss if this church or this family was gone?
I would be really honest in telling everyone that, once again, I've moved. I live in Allentown, but this is my church home and this is my church family. So I'm not leaving. I'm here for the long haul. And it's not only the people and the building, it's everything. To walk in and to know people who know me, I'm respected by the people here in the church. It just has that feeling of coming home. So the church as a whole body, I would miss it all.
Wow, that's amazing. So how can you connect the dots between yourself and, the ESUMC?
I guess I'm seeking my next chapter. And I'm sure people that turn 62 start thinking about, where did all the time go? Where did it go? I wanted to do X. I wanted to do Y. I wanted to do Z. I had all these things in my life that I wanted to do, and many of them I have accomplished. But I'm trying to figure out my next chapter. And at some point, retirement will be in my life. And I can't imagine sitting by a pool all day. I can't imagine being at the golf course all day. I can't imagine sitting around watching Hallmark all day. All of it doesn't appeal to me. I will be active. And I know number one will be, what will I do in service? Because it's not just a calling to be a pastor. It's not just a calling to publicly speak. It's a calling to be an active part of your church, because church just isn't that 45 minutes to an hour and a half on Sunday. It's all week long. People need your help. People need your advice. People need your hands. There's anything here that someone can do.
Amazing. So how would you encourage people, to serve based on?
It is so simple. I'm going to cite Mike Carlson right now. He's the chair for ministry placement, and he's always looking for leadership. And I think if everyone in this church realized at some point in time, I was 14 years old, and I took on a role to come in and help with the Vacation Bible School. You didn't have to have skills for that. You learn on the job, and nobody judges you for it. You just watch other people, and you pick up how they're doing things, and you do them their way. But at a certain point, you take that risk. I mean, how hard is it just to even be to volunteer for a Vacation Bible School for a few days? It's 5 days of your time, maybe only a few days. What about helping Anna in the kitchen? That if you want to learn how to use a knife, you want to learn how to make a meal, you want to learn how to feed, 1,500 people? You can learn it there. It's a skill that you will have, and you're also really helping the community. And not everybody wants to stand up in front of the church and speak, but think of everything that goes on behind. If we didn't have Zoom during COVID, how would people have been able to go to church services? And how many people, I bet you 20 people volunteered up there on a regular basis to do the work. And we train you on the job. And we're not judgmental. We don't smack you in the back of the head. We're not wrapping your knuckles with a ruler, but you learn how to do something else. And you also, I have to say, I can name 10 people that I've volunteered with that have become good friends of mine. I know them. I bump into them at the grocery store. And what does that say about our community? Like, we're here.
That's amazing. So if you were to take a Sunday drive, where would you go this week?
Oh, isn't it funny? I'm going to ask you the same question. Okay. Maybe it's a Saturday drive for you. I don't know. But for me and my house, my father was not a churchgoer. He said it was for hypocrites, which hence maybe he should have gone, but alas, he did not. But he never stopped me from going to church. And he would pick me up after Sunday school, and we would go for a Sunday drive. And sometimes it was to go to the little bodega, and I could pick one candy bar, and I could get an orange crush or a grape crush, something really exciting. Sometimes we're not going to do that. We're just going to take a drive. And I can still remember not wearing a seatbelt and going over the hills in the country as fast as we could to get the Tickle-Belly Road. I think that's what we would call it. So I have great memories. And I've heard if you are depressed, you should do something you used to do when you were a child. Wow. And it will bring you joy. And I have to say, a Sunday drive. I do it every Sunday when I come to church. I got to drive back to Allentown. Yeah, fun thoughts. What about you? When do you and your family take a drive?
Well, I do this. I try 2 things I do these days because I'm a pastor. I have a Saturday breakfast with my son, and I go out with him, and he picks. He's like very picky, and he picks where we're going to go. So he'll say, I want to have waffles today, so we'll go into Compton's. Or I want to have pancakes today. Where is a good pancake place? And so we'll find it. Or, whatever he wants.
You're making a happy childhood memory for him. Yes. He can look back on it and do with his own children.
Have breakfast. And then, when it's for Sunday, sometimes we go for ice creams too. So,
well, that's a given.
Yeah.
That's a given. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I like it, as you said, that time has flown real by when you're having fun. But what book are you reading, and or show do you watch, or for fun?
I should have written that down because my head is so into things right now. I always like Shark Tank. Just throwing that out there. I find that fascinating because I love creating businesses and helping people, create a business themselves. But book-wise, I just read How to Be a Great Boss. And I want to say Gino Wickman, but it could be Leary. And I have to say, it validated me because some people are not everything, and you can't be everything to all people all the time. I'm not that person either. And I've recognized it a long time ago. If someone says, hey, I need a great idea, I've got a great idea. But if they say, when you're going to start doing that idea, I got to find volunteers to help me get it done because the implementation is not my skill. So that would be for me. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I like to see results. I like to, I'm not a process person. I'm a resource person, always like
data. You like looking at the data
and results, so big idea.
Okay.
Look at the data and how to make it happen,
Okay.
And always looking at the end, always looking at the outcome and the results, And sometimes some people don't look at those things. People will tell you process is important, ideas are important, concepts are important.
Correct.
Ideas are important, process is important, because sometimes people will tell you, it's not the outcome, it's the process. But for me, I want to look at the outcome and the result. But I know
so you'd like to see the end result and then figure out how you're going to get there.
I start from the end.
Yeah,
the middle part.
Yeah, the middle part. It's a tough one. I tell you, I have to say, I look at life like a marketing program, and because of my 12 years with McDonald's and all of the advertising and marketing, the first thing they tell you is who's your demographic. And then the next thing they say, and how are you going to get that demographic to buy or come or do whatever it is you need them to do? And let's put together a marketing plan and let's get out and get it done. So I look at this church right now. There is so much work to be done, and there are so many exciting things down the pike. And I look at our demographic here. It's this 1 mile circle around this building. They come here to eat. They're people that come to this church on a regular basis, and they're our guests. But there's also people that come to our church service, and there's people that come and use our building. All of it, to me, is so exciting if you start looking at that data. How many people walk through our doors and get some sort of service? I find that exciting, and I think we have to do it differently. When I say different, I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something new. I am so excited with where that survey has gotten us, because I see so many people on fire to bring people back into our church for something different, something new, something different. And I laughed when I raised my hand and I said, hey, why don't we just put some washers and dryers downstairs in our basement? Yeah. Who are we going to get? Perhaps the people that come to eat can go down there and get their clothes washed. Perhaps the East Stroudsburg University students, where you were a student yourself, could find their way over here. And perhaps we hire somebody to sit down there with a social work background that can really help plug these people into other things that are available in our community. I just looked at it as something fun, something different. And then maybe even doing a movie like Cabrini across the street, and opening it up for no cost to get people to come and really be touched with some evangelism from somebody that was told no over and over and over again, Mother Cabrini, and who ended up creating orphanages all over the world. Somebody that spent a lot of time on their knees, really, really showing her conviction to the Lord and to what her direction should be. So I would love to get messages out there differently. Any idea I can come up with, I would come up with 1,000 of them. Getting the people on board, that's another story. We're going to work on that.
So good. So who's the last person who sent you a text message?
I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to look. I think it was, I'm stuck in traffic is probably what it was. It was Manny. You're late. Where are you, Trish? Right? Yeah. Yep, it was Manny.
Well, Manny,
thank you, Manny.
Yeah, we wanted, we so wanted you to be here, so we were like trying to, get you to be here. So that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, time flies when you're having fun, Trish, and it's been great having you. But so what's next for you? I mean, business-wise, church leadership-wise, we do something called, what they call goal, target audience, vision around it. So that's how, and even I have to tell you, even when I'm preparing sermons, it's like, what's my goal? What's my target? And what's the communication around that? So just tell us what's next for you in these areas that I know you touch a little bit about anticipating retirement and things like that, and other.
Well, that gives me more time for volunteering, right? Well, as of January 1, I became the chair for steering, and steering is a compilation of the other 10 leadership areas in our church, and we meet monthly to go over issues with the church and what we can do to fix it, or great things that are happening and what can we do to make it even better. I am going to keep that roll through December, unless maybe it's a 3-year term. Something tells me that you guys keep extending it if I keep showing up for these things. Something tells me that. And it's exciting to be a part of that. When it comes to my retirement, I really love what I do, and I have great people that work for me, and it could still grow. I could still buy more territory, and I could still sell it. I could do a lot of things. And I don't quite know exactly what I want to do with that yet. But what I do know is I will not be sitting around on my laurels having a cocktail next to a pool 7 days a week. I'll be doing something for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's amazing. Well, what's the one last word or one last take you want to give to the audience who'll be watching the first?
Oh, it's going to be obvious because we're talking about volunteerism and what it's done for my life. So I'm going to say, don't say no. Say, not yet, maybe. Say, oh, I'm going to say it to you. So if I was to repeat your question, you said, what's the next big thing that you think you want to do? Is that how you described it? And I would say for anybody that is a member of our church or dipping their toe in the water to see if this is the church for them, don't say no when you're asked to help. It could be something so simple, like welcoming people as they come in. It could be telling them where to park. It could be helping Anna in the kitchen and her team to do some light cooking. It could be taking on a leadership role, teaching other people a skill you have, being a part of the trustees, being a part of the finance group. Everything you could bring to this church can only make you happier.
Thank you so much, Tricia. You've made history being our first guest on this ESUMC podcast. We're so glad to have you, and thank you for all that you do, and Manny as well. We're so glad to have you here coordinating that, and we're looking forward to thousands and thousands of podcasts coming out.
Well, I'm honored to be the first one. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Cheers, Trish, and good to see you. God bless you.